showcase, which is what we will be starting with, and then the round of 16 map pool showcase. I am Toke Daddy. I will be one of your commentators for these two blocks, and I am joined by two other commentators. We've got Underjoy. How's it going?
Hello, I'm super excited.
As am I, and we also have Blocko joining us. How is it going, my friend?
Very good, very good. Really excited for this one.
I think all of us are really excited about this one. But just as a few pieces of information before we start getting into the seeding showcases, there were 37 teams that played through qualifier lobbies this past weekend. Only 16 of them, as you might have expected from the round of 16 thing I just said, 16 of them will move on into the bracket stage, which also means that 21 teams will be eliminated following this stream. It's a lot of teams, but we're making sure that only the best of the best are making it through to that bracket stage. But I don't really have anything else to say before we start getting into it. What about you two?
Yeah, I think it's very sad to have so many teams eliminated, but the skill discrepancies between the teams are so high, so it's just impossible to let everyone in and have matches that will be somewhat not sweeps, you know?
Yeah, but we have had plenty of new teams throw their hat in the ring trying to make a run for that bracket stage. But with that, I think we can move forward to our last place qualifier. We're going to start at number 37 and move up as we go along, and our number 37 is going to be Iraq, one of those new teams that I just mentioned.
Yes, they sadly got last place on all but second map. And I think some of those players are actually like 9,000 rank global, so it was really a difficult feat for them to play in these qualifiers.
Yeah, a difficult set of qualifiers. No shame in having some, weaknesses when it comes to these things. Like you said, stage 2 being their best performance at number 36, but shows their strength, that they have some kinds of strengths going in for their rice. But we're not going to spend too much time on these lower seedings. We just want to blast through this until we start getting closer to that 16 mark. So with that, we can move into number 36.
Switzerland is actually quite strange because they had been in top 16 last year, I think, but their best player, Akeiro, wasn't playing. Actually, both of those players weren't playing, so...
Last year they were a two-person team. This year they're also a two-person team, but those, missing Akeiro and Gamer97 is a bit of a rough loss for that team. And we can move on to number 35. Whoa, that skipped a few. I guess we're talking about number 33 now. Wait, where? I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about number 33.
Number 33 is Singapore.
Yeah, they have been a stronger team in the last years, I think, but this year they just didn't get the good enough team. So sadly, they are pretty low in the rankings.
Yeah, showing a little bit of strength on that right side. 31 on stage 2 and 33s on all the other rice maps. Falling a little short on the long notes, but that is going to be Singapore's place in the seeding. But that was definitely the incorrect order. With that, they are seed number 33. We're moving back to 35. We got New Zealand hitting the number 35 spot.
Yeah, let's go. Pretty. They only have 2 players, so it's difficult to have them play all the maps.
Yeah, with 8 maps in a row, followed by all 8 of them in a row again, it can be hard to keep your composure for that entire time, and only having 2 players does not bode well for many of these teams. But that's number 35. Number 34 is going to be, once it comes up on the screen, Peru is number 34, edging out New Zealand just then. And we can see that their score is actually a bit consistent across the board. We've got 33 or 34 for all of their qualifying scores, but no main strengths, no main weaknesses. Just didn't have the overall ability to move that step further.
Yes, if you look at the average rank, it's almost 3,000. So you cannot really do much with this. But they still have played the qualifiers and had the team, so maybe next year.
Yeah. But that's number 34. We already know number 33 was Singapore. We talked to them about them a little bit. So we can move into 32, which is going to be Ecuador.
I knew no players from Ecuador, but as you can see, they didn't perform bad. Like they have average rank twice as low as the previous team, so they're already much better players.
Yeah, and once we start getting up into these ranks, we're starting to see some slight improvements in terms of like their not overall, but like what they're really good at. We can see that Confusion Part 1, they have a pretty good handle on accuracy, but it just wasn't enough to push them to where they needed to go. And that is number 32. We've got 15 teams left as we move into seed number 31. It's going to be Australia here. And again, we're starting to see some more focused skill sets on these players. We have a 3-man team, Bouncer, Potassium, and Konami, having a pretty strong long note roster compared to everything else. But that long note roster was not going to be enough to push them any higher.
Yeah, Australia definitely was held back by their strongest player, Ruka, not playing. And with Ruka, they could have gone like at least 5 ranks higher, because Ruka is extremely good, especially at long notes.
Yeah, but yeah, that's going to be seed number 31. Move into number 30. It's going to be Norway, making it into that top 30. Again, we see some pretty strong hybrid score, a number 29 on that, and a number 30 on Rainy Girl. We have a full team here, so it just was a matter of not quite matching up to the teams that we'll be seeing later on.
Exactly. I think they got the same seed as last year, at least if you can believe trust the information on the screen.
That is what it looks like. So they're staying pretty consistent with their seeding, just need to get some small improvements, and I could see them definitely putting in some work in this tournament. That's number 30. We have number 29 coming up, and that's going to be Macau.
Yeah, Macau having basically one good player, Aitkios, which is... I think I've seen him in like every MWC that had Macau on the roster. And Randoms is sadly like significantly weaker than the other players, so they just couldn't get high enough with that discrepancy.
And it's another case of only having 2 players, so having both of them playing every single map, you're going to end up finding some weaknesses, and unfortunately that was the case with Macau, seeding at number 29. And then we can move into number 28, and that's going to be Mexico, another full team here.
I see a pattern here that most of those weaker teams have one or two good players, and then the rest are like 40 digits. So it's just not enough for them to
yeah. And I think what we'll notice as we start getting closer and closer to that top 16 is that more recognizable players or higher ranked players will start to show up a lot more. And obviously, I think we're going to have a higher what would you call it? A higher frequency of full teams so that you can separate those skill sets between players. But that is number 28. Moving on to the next seeded team, it's going to be Denmark. Putting in some pretty good work on the rice pool, falling a little bit behind on long notes, but overall pretty consistent.
Yes, definitely an improvement over the last year. And you can already see those players are 3 digits and pretty good at the game. So it's just that we have so many teams that are better.
I mean,
impressive.
Just looking at the rosters of some of these teams, this tournament is going to be stacked. And seeing 2 players in that 3-digit range, in the top 500 range, only managing to get up to that seed number 27 should tell you a lot about how good these teams are that are coming up later. That is Denmark at number 27. Number 26 is going to be Finland, another full team, and like very similar to last one, we have some very high-ranked players, some very good players on this team. And we have a couple of outliers in their scores, Stage 4, Rainy Girl, and Stage 1, Confusion, Part 1, both having that number 22, but falling behind in the rest of their qualifiers.
Yes, I already recognize most of their team, and they definitely have a lot of 4-key players as well. So pretty fast team, and they are better on They have quite weird scores because they are good at accuracy and long notes, but at the same time, one score they don't enjoy denser stuff. It seems.
Yeah, but that will be number 26. We're slowly getting closer into that seeding. We have 10 teams left who will be missing out on the dance, or 9, one of the two. I'm not going to worry about the count. Number 25 is going to be the Czech Republic, and that is going to put them at... they didn't even show up last year. They didn't perform in the qualifiers last year. And we have two very, very good, highly ranked players. We have Tipito at 634 and Grill Roasted, a well-known player at 134. But another pretty consistent team. That 22 on stage 8 shows that their late game prowess is probably a little bit better than their early game scores. But either way, they came to play as and did what they could. Just a few seeds outside of qualifying.
Yes, it's just the classic second player syndrome where you just have the one carry and then the rest of the team tries to accommodate, but they just aren't at the level of that one grill roasted in this case.
Yeah, that is going to be a seed 25. 24 is going to be Hong Kong here. Another team that did not perform last year and showed up trying to do whatever they could to qualify, just did not quite hit the bill. Look at that stage 1 and 2 scores, number 16 and number 17. So they definitely have these skill sets ready to go for being capable of qualifying. They just, we're starting to fall off with the long notes in the later game maps in this qualifier pool.
Yes, definitely. It is just very difficult to find 2 or 3 players that are enough for the task. And
yeah,
yes.
I mean, like, these scores aren't even, like, we're noticing a lot of these scores from these players aren't bad. The average score on most of these maps is about 900k per player. And finding players who could get 900,000 points on these is a very difficult task.
Yeah, these maps are very difficult in qualifiers already.
But that will be number 24. Number 23 is Saudi Arabia. Another team that did not play last year, but really showed up. I honestly did not expect this to come out from Saudi Arabia, but they've got 3 very high-ranking players, and they put on the performance. Pretty consistent overall. Definitely favored for that early game kind of area, but still did not put up a bad performance on anything here.
I think no one would expect Saudi Arabia to get so high. I think most people thought this was like just a funny team that didn't even know they have mania players, and bam, you have rank 23 and very respectable performances across the board.
Yeah, and this team beating out a lot of very solid teams throughout that we've seen in the seeding showcase. But that will be seed 23. We got seed 22 coming up. It's going to be the United Kingdom, another full team. The first time we've seen a team be really strong at those long notes. We saw earlier one team that was a little bit better, but this one, a number 18 score and a number 19 score on those 2 long note qualifiers here.
Yeah, I think United Kingdom could get even higher if they had some... I think they had better players in the roster last year, but even so, they have improvement in the seats, so...
Yeah, they sure did. Getting improved by about 2 seeding placements, so trying to make their way into that top 16, just did not quite get there. But that's seed 22. Seed 21 is going to be Venezuela, yet another team that did not perform last year, and another team that looks pretty balanced overall. We see the number 19 on stage 1, and then Illegal Legacy and, or I guess stage 3 and stage 8 on the hybrids, both also in that top 20. So we can see a team here that is pretty capable of both early and late rounds, just kind of fell apart in, those long notes and the later round rice picks.
Yeah, we can just see those new teams in the NWC that are consisting of entirely of 3-digit players and can pull off very good performances.
Absolutely. That's going to finish off number 21, and we're hitting the top 20 now. We've only got 4 teams left that aren't qualifying. In the first one coming up is Germany, a number 58 ranked player surrounded by more 3 digits. Just not quite able to get the scores that they needed, getting 19th place overall on the rice and then 20th on the hybrids, and a number 17 overall score on one of the long note qualifiers, just falling a little bit behind on the harder maps for long notes.
Yeah, I know Sukiya definitely carried Germany, and some of his scores are on par with the top best teams. So if Germany can keep this up, they can surely qualify next year.
Absolutely. You can see that they improved by 3 placements there and going from 23 to 20. So I'm excited to see where they can go in the future. That's number 20 into the teens. 19 is the Netherlands. And a very, very strong late game team. We see number 16, number 16, number 18, and number 20 on the 4 ladder qualifiers here, and just getting a little bit stuck on the accuracy with the 2 first Rice qualifiers.
Yeah, there are some players that many people know on this team, like Tyronix, who is overall just a very strong player, and Freak, who is a god of releases and long notes. But yeah, you can see the long note performances on their side are pretty good, especially this stage 4, which is 15th place. Pretty good for Netherlands.
Yeah, really, really impressive for the Netherlands, but they unfortunately will not be joining us for the bracket stage. We've got 2 teams left. Number 18 is going to be Estonia, a 2-person team just outside the bounds of qualifying with a number 11 score on the second long note qualifier. Absolutely showing up, trying their best, but is going to fall just a bit short based on those long note or based on the Rice and hybrid scores.
Yes, many people would think that Estonia is such a random country and wouldn't really bat an eye, but when I saw their roster, I thought maybe they can qualify, because I know Hisala and Arcaxiov both have extremely good performances overall on maps like this, and you can see that number 11 on Shuba Shuba Parfait really makes you think they could really get... I thought from the seconds before the last 3 team played, they were in, so they were knocked out to the eliminated teams just at the last second.
Yeah, just barely not making the dance there. But we have one final team that will not be qualifying. The most tragic seed of any tournament. It's going to be seed number 17, and that is Sweden. Sad Cat at that number 71, not being able to get his team into the bracket stage, despite some incredibly impressive scores all around. A number 12 on stage 2 and a number 16 on stage 4. But that hybrid category really, really messed them up.
Yes, it really breaks my heart to see them just barely missing that mark of qualifying. But yeah, Sweden players from Sweden are my favorite players. They have so much fun playing the game.
The worst team to have the most tragic seed. But unfortunately, those 21 teams will not be joining us for the bracket stage. All 16 teams after this will be playing in our bracket stage next weekend. We'll have the opportunity to duke it out against another team using the showcase, or using the map pool that we'll be showcasing just a bit. But the first team to qualify for the Mania 7 Key World Cup is going to be, if it switches over, Vietnam. Getting kind of a little bit weaker on the right side, but those long notes and hybrids carrying them into bracket stage.
Let's go. I think, isn't this the is it the third Asian team? I think so. But you can see that they are an Asian team because they perform really well on long notes, which is basically the norm for like O2Jam centered countries.
Yeah, we haven't seen a whole lot of Asian teams represent. We've seen Singapore, Macau, now Vietnam,
and Hong Kong. Yes,
and Hong Kong. If you count the Middle East, we've also seen Iraq and Saudi Arabia. But outside of that, so we haven't seen too many. We'll see plenty more coming up in the top 16. But Vietnam, with a very strong performance there at number 16, will face the number 1 seed in the first round of bracket stage coming up next weekend. And we can move to seed number 15, Russian Federation. Mage coming back with a vengeance, looking for it. Every single qualifier except for stage 4 in that top 16 zone, carrying them into the bracket stage.
Yeah, Russia has a very good team overall. I think their worst side is the lack of accuracy, but I've seen some of those players perform in the ETT tournament, and they were extremely good, especially at long notes. So we probably can... They are dangerous, even if they are seed 15.
Yeah, you can tell that they're super dangerous, especially towards the like on the later pools or the more difficult maps, because that number 11 score on Arcadia, Banana, and Lyrith all show some major competence when it comes to more difficult maps, just lacking a little bit behind in the accuracy-based maps. That will be number 15 facing number 2 next weekend. Number 14 is going to be Argentina. Lucas Greedham, Attenst, and Leon Cat looking at that long note score. Number 13 and number 10 on the 2 qualifiers. Number 10 overall. So very impressive performance from them there.
Yes, they got a much better team than last year. I think Lucas wasn't playing last year, and don't let this rank deceive you. He is a very seasoned player and really carries the Argentina. Well, overall, they have a very strong team that is able to fight for something this year.
Absolutely, they will. They will face number 3, the number 3 seed team next weekend, but that will allow us to move on to seed number 13, and that is going to be France. A very, Elementaire is a veteran 7 key player from France, backed up by Jerem Curem, Mila Maxwell, and Clamati. Another team with a very strong long note performance, number 10 and number 15, falling just behind Argentina overall on the long notes, but performing just a bit better on the Rice and Hybrid sides.
Yes, you can see the huge improvement over the last year. Last year they did not qualify, which was one of the upsets. Now they are in and looking strong, very balanced overall team.
Absolutely, France looking to come back with a vengeance here, but moving on to number 12 will be Chile. Last year, I believe they had a 2-person team of just Faziel. No, I might be wrong
Gonzalo
about
and
this.
Scalim, I think.
Gonzalo and Scalim, yeah. Faziel joins. It's Benja and Matthias rounding out that team. No Gonzalo this year, but a very strong roster. Number 10, number 12, number 11 overall here.
And that's stage 1.
That's stage
7th
1.
place.
We could be seeing a few upsets. This pool is a little bit easier than these qualifiers were, so if they're able to keep that accuracy up like they are in stage 1, we could definitely see an upset happening for whomever they face.
Chile has a very seasoned team, lots of experienced players, so they won't let anyone just triumph over them easily. They can really capitulate on the mistakes their opponents make, especially in the early phase.
Absolutely. They will face seed number 5 going into the bracket stage, but that can allow us to move on to number 11, which will be Thailand, a traditionally extremely strong team. I'm a little surprised to see them this low.
Yeah, that's probably because the last year's second player, Miski, is not playing this year, so that leaves us only with Lost Cool. And while the other 3 players are still extremely good, especially on the long notes, as you can expect from Thailand, Lost Cool is a huge carry, which is probably one of the best long nose players in the entire world. But Miski was also very strong in pretty much two-digit area, so lack of him will be a big hit to this team. But nevertheless, they managed to qualify.
Yeah, 4 extremely strong qualifier scores in the top 10. That stage 1 Confusion, stage 4, stage 6, or stage 5, sorry, and then stage 8, all being in that top 10, shows a very strong roster overall. And they will face seed number 6 in the bracket stage. Now seed number 10, getting into the top 10 qualifiers, starting it off with Japan. 3 players in that 2-digit range and an extremely strong Rice performance there.
Yes, Japan is a very specific team for many reasons. They lack their star player Suzuha from last year, which is why they scored only 10. They were 5th last year. But they have a very, very strong Rice team, especially Rain Lily, who is Overjoy, and Mayashiro Koishi and Ensan are also really strong players. Lulu is playing on a BM controller, Rain Lily same as well, so they probably can fight even with the stronger teams on the Rise, but their long note abilities can be a little bit dangerous for them, so I expect many close teams with Team Japan.
Yeah, I actually believe that the same kind of thing happened last year. Japan qualified, I believe, potentially 10th or 11th last year, and then upset the team that they were up against in the bracket stage to stay in the winner's bracket.
Yes, on the long note map.
Yeah, so this is going to definitely be interesting to see if they're able to pull that off again. But now we will move on to seed number 9 to finish the top half of the qualifiers, and that will be Team Canada, matching their placement from last year, having an extremely strong long note and hybrid category, falling just a little bit behind on the rice mats there.
Yeah, Canada always had a very, very well-balanced and strong overall team, so it's no surprise to see them on the seed number 9. And yeah, Mr. Moose especially deserves the recognition, as he's one of the top players for the team and really carrying, especially on the long notes. You can see number 6, number 7 places on the long note qualifiers. So I expect a lot of action coming from Canada this year.
Absolutely. Number 9 seed will be facing the next seed. We see number 8, which is going to be Brazil, starting us off in the top half. We've got Maki, Vasily, Fangirl, Lothus, and Tart BTW for this. An extremely strong rice core. You know, you see Silly Fangirl and Lothus in that squad, and you already know that they're going to get very strong accuracy scores, so that's not a surprise to me at all.
Yes, they are kind of lacking in the long nose department, but overall, this is one of the most scary teams you can face in the round of 16, as they are, especially Lotus and Sillyfanger, are very experienced tournament players, both in 4-key and in 7-key, and they will just destroy the early maps. So I expect Team Canada to have a little bit of issue.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting matchup we have there. Brazil versus Canada. Brazil very strong on rice. Canada strong on the Ellens and hybrids. So I'm very excited to see this match next weekend. But that will be number 8. Moving on to number 7. We're going to see Indonesia there. Onta Bekasi, Yanaman, Rays, and Dominance. You know, we talked about the Asian teams being pretty good at long notes generally, as a general rule. Ellens at number 8. Hybrids at number 5, falling just a little bit behind that. But important to note about this team, no qualifier scores outside of the top 10. So we're starting to get into some dangerous territory here.
Yeah, Indonesia is always very good at 7-key, and for me personally, this team is a very scary opponent, as they didn't score that high of the qualifiers. I think they could get even higher, but I know how well Yanamon and Onta Bekasi play. So those two players are really a force to be reckoned with, and matches with them can go either way. They can really show even higher skill than number 7. And Rice is also a very, very old tournament player, so I'd also watch out for him.
Yeah, so we got some dangerous players. They will be the ones facing off against Japan next weekend. So I could see Indonesia, Japan being a very interesting match, just as much as Brazil versus Canada. But that's number 7. We can move into seed number 6. That's going to be Spain, a traditionally very good long note team. You know, you got Aitor and Kruke Fanboy on the team. Obviously, they're going to destroy the long notes. A good score on Illegal Legacy as well, just, again, falling a little bit behind on the rice section.
I'm extremely happy to see this team perform even better than last year, as they were the strongest European team in the last year. And Aitor coming back almost at 1 digit is really telling you something about his overall ability as a player. And Kruke Fanboy, also known for his extreme tournament consistency. They really have a very, very formidable team. And overall, I think this team doesn't have many weaknesses.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for teams to find weaknesses in the Spanish roster. I mean, you said that Spain had gotten the top spot for the Europeans last year. Same deal this year. Spain top spot Europe for the 7-key World Cup. So very impressive from them. And we can move on to seed number... Oh, wait, hold on. Before we move on, Spain will be facing off against Thailand next week. Just want to get that out of the way.
Another crazy matchup.
Yeah, these are some insane matchups for this first round of bracket stage. But next will be seed number 5, and that's going to be the United States.
And look at that. Top score on the court stream map. DX Choco Creep. They got them even above Korea. That's something.
Yeah, a very, very well-rounded Rice team. A little bit weaker on the long notes and hybrid squad. Tourney, Alter, Stupid Man, and Squishy making that number 5 seed, really getting carried by that Rice skill. But I would be pretty scared to face off against this team. We already know that Alter and Stupid Man are just insanely good at Rice. And then Tourney can come in along with Squishy and fill in for things like the long note maps. And I certainly expect something like that to happen in their match.
Yeah, Squishy is just very general, very good player, and Tourney is one of the best players on the long note races. That she's so good that even players from like Philippines and South Korea and Malaysia can lose to her on a long note accuracy. So really difficult task for opponents of the United States to beat them, even on long notes.
Yeah, and their opponent will be Chile next week. But that is seed number 5. We are going into the top 4. We have number 4 is going to be China, who placed second place last year. We've got Turks. Forky came by Satori and King GD. Is that how you pronounce that? Is it Ching Jiding? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about pronunciation because I'm always bad at it.
Yes, Team China doesn't have their star player from last year, Liang Jiang, so that's why they are 4th and not 2nd, because Liang was pretty much the best player in the tournament, probably, because he was so absurdly good at everything. But even without him, they still have extremely good roster. I would even say this is more balanced than last year, because some of those players changed their nicknames, but if you know the names of QX and Zhangfan, they have basically them in the team, just with changed nicknames. So very strong team overall. Number 1 on Rainy Girl and number 2 on Arcadia. They are one of the strongest teams in the tournament.
Yeah, marked by that number 4 seed. They will face off against France in the first round of bracket stage. But we've got our top 3 qualifiers, our podium winners for the qualifier stage. Starting with number 3, the bronze medal goes to Malaysia, who also finished last year's tournament overall in 3rd place. A number 1 on stage 8 there. So we're already seeing a few number 1s, 3 of them taken off the board. A little bit weaker on the Rice, but very, very strong overall team here.
Yes, Malaysia just barely finishing above China in the qualifiers. And yeah, mostly carried by Chiwi and Noki. I think Chiwi was actually the MVP for the whole qualifiers, getting 5 rank 1s on from the 8 maps in qualifiers. So he's definitely the player to watch in this tournament, and Noki just being god of consistency, and he's just not missing.
Yeah, a very, very scary team marked by that number 3 seeding there for Malaysia. They will face off against Argentina in the first round of bracket stage next weekend, but we've only got 2 teams left. The silver medal will be handed to the Philippines, who just missed the podium overall last year. Boji, Arona, Kura, and Barry. 4 players who are 2-digit or better. Kura in the top 10 overall, and we see yet another number 1 score on that Arcadia map there, stage 5. So very good at that later game Rice category, but even then, number 2s across the board overall on Rice, long notes, and hybrids. Absolutely terrifying team.
Honestly, Philippines has like the dream team in this year, because they have the addition of Barry, who couldn't play last year, and this year he's there, and he's really good at the game. He's basically destroying everything with Kura, who's, I think he's one of the top players and in the world at the moment, really destroying every single map he touches. And Boji, who is just extremely good in accuracy. And Arona, I think in the last year, in the match against South Korea, Arona was one of the carries in the long notes, and really he's very good at tournament play. So Philippines has the potential to win this tournament.
Oh yeah, I could absolutely see that. But in order to win this tournament, they'll have to get through all other 14 teams that we've shown. We'll mention they'll be facing Russian Federation next week, but they'll have to face off, make sure that they get through all 14 teams that we've mentioned, plus the number 1 seed, the gold medal in qualifiers. No one expected this. South Korea. What can you really say? They're about as dominant as a team has ever been in any game mode. Potentially even more dominant than the United States has been in standard, which is a pretty tall task to to cover. I think Japan takes the cake in Taiko, but South Korea and 7-Key Mania go together about as well as any two things could.
I mean, I think those ranks are not updated, as I think Dressurf is currently number 1 in the world. But anyway, yes, they are number 1 in the qualifiers this year as well. But you can see they have only have
only 4 number 1s. Come on.
Yes, so they weren't the best at everything, and I still think they have some areas that they can be beaten at, especially by teams like Philippines and Malaysia. They aren't the best at everything, and even though they are just extremely good, they have some weaknesses. And they have a new player this year, Anil, who is rank 28. And I've seen his scores on Rise maps. He's just really good overall. So anyone that's going to face South Korea, they are up to a monumental task.
Yeah, monumental task might even be underestimating or understating that. But South Korea, the final team to be announced here, number 1 seed, facing off against Vietnam in the bracket stage, round 1 next weekend. But that will conclude our seeding showcase for the Osamania 7Q World Cup 2023.